Hello, my fellow Americans. Today, in my documentary, we will be discussing how a bill becomes a law. There are 8 main steps in this process. First, someone must, of course, think of the idea for a bill. Second, a congressman then has to create and write a bill. Third, the bill is then introduced to Congress and referred to a committee. Fourth, if the bill makes it out of committee, it will then go to the floor and be voted on by the House of Congress it originated from. Fifth, if it is passed by its originating House, it will go to be voted on in the other House of Congress. Sixth, in the other House, the bill goes through a similar type of committee and floor voting as it did in the original House of Congress. Seventh, if the bill passes in the other House, it is then sent to a joint committee composed of both senators and representatives. The joint committee then writes up and creates the final draft of the bill. Eighth, if it gets passed through the joint committee, it is then sent to the President of the United States, who then either passes or vetoes this bill. If he passes the bill, then it will become law. To help you better understand this process, I will be using an example of a law and how it got passed and the steps it took. The law that I will be using is the Federal Election Campaign Act of 1974, also known as FECA. This law originated in the Senate and was sponsored by Democrat Howard Cannon. This bill was introduced February 21st, 1974. In the Senate, it was referred to the Senate Rules and Administration Committee. After being brought to the Senate floor and having cloture and vote in order to stop a senator from delaying or filibustering the vote on the bill, it was passed in the Senate in a 53 to 32 to 16 vote. Of the 53 in favor of the bill, a majority of them were Democrats, and the majority of the opposition were Republican. 16 of the entire Senate did not vote on this bill. Next, the bill was sent over to the House of Representatives, and it was referred to the House Administration Committee. The bill then took so long to get out of committee that it was necessary to use a discharge petition in order to get the bill onto the House floor so that it could be voted on. And once again, the majority ruled in favor of the bill, 2/3 to be exact, at least. Once again, the majority of those in favor were of the Democratic Party, and majority of the opposition were of the Republican Party. After the conference committee, there were some additions or amendments made to the bill. Some of the changes included banning foreign nationals from contributing to American political campaigns, and that Congress members were prohibited from receiving subsidy payments from the government. Finally was the very fast trip to the president's desk, where the bill was signed that very same day, October 15th, 1974, with about 6 different pens, I'm sure. This bill is a perfect example or illustration of the long process that a bill must take and the struggle of the bill just to make it onto the floor of a House of Congress, let alone being signed into law. It was not easy for this bill to become a law. It had to overcome things such as a discharge petition. If a discharge petition had not came around, perhaps this bill would have died in committee and never occurred. And if the bill never occurred, then the rules on federal elections would have been much different, because then the Federal Election Commission would never have been created, and public spending, public financing would never have been given to federal elections, and limits would not have been set on how much one candidate can spend or how much can be contributed to that candidate by a PAC or by